Hey, what's up, everybody? Alf here on the dawn of GBL season number 5. I'm going to talk a little bit about what this season's going to look like, about the teams that I'm going to be using for each of the cups, although I don't know what my catch cup team quite looks like yet. We'll have to find out what I catch. But I'm going to talk a little bit about what you can expect, the strategies I've taken to sort of mitigate the dust expense, and some just philosophical things that I'm thinking might be a good way to make sure that season 5 is as enjoyable as it could possibly be. So stick around. I'm glad you're here. Let's get into it. All right, we'll start with Little Cup, which starts today, or I don't know, sometime soon when you watch this video. Starts on Monday, November 9th in my neck of the woods. Little Cup is 500 CP, only Pokemon that can evolve but aren't evolved. This meta is looking a little bit dicey. I know a lot of you are struggling. You don't keep a lot of stuff under that 500 CP mark because you haven't had a lot of use for it. The second reason it's looking dicey is this guy, Bronzor. I fully intend to put a Bronzor on my team. I don't intend to double move any of these Pokemon to save resources. I have another little strategy about saving resources. The Bronzor I'm using, for example, is a low level perfect, something that I'll be able to invest in later for potential Ultra League spice. Every single Pokemon on this team is something that I plan to invest in later. So the levels that I've put into it here aren't going to be wasted Stardust. So I'm going to be bringing Bronzor. It's absolutely dominant in this meta. Everyone's going to be countering it. In fact, it may end up coming off my team simply because people are going to be running 3 Bronzor counters. But I think starting with it, especially as this is the first format and you're going to run into a lot of people who are maybe giving it a try for the first time and haven't maybe seen videos like this that have been like Bronzor, you're going to get some free wins out of that. The second thing I'm definitely going to bring is a Shadow Stunky. I have a really great Shadow Skunk Tank that it's been sitting in my inventory. I had already TM'd it on the last frustration event. I've been waiting to invest in it, and turns out I can level it up to the point in this where I can utilize it with Bite as it becomes a great Bronzor counter, and I can still evolve it later and utilize it for Great League, where I think it's actually pretty good. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a great Bronzor counter. It's a great counter to a number of other things within the meta. It should be pretty darn good. Lastly, I'm bringing a Charm Cottonee. This does not beat Bronzor, obviously, but it does beat a lot of the popular Bronzor counters, and Charm is just a generally pretty good matchup. One little goofy thing about Cottonee: if you level up your Cottonee all the way to where it's going to get closest to 500, you actually may over level it for general Great League, just the way the stats break down. So mine's actually under leveled a little bit. I think it's at like 470 CP, just to make sure that I can then evolve this. This is another one I've saved for Great League, but I haven't made yet. So every Pokemon on this team, I fully intend at some point to spend some additional Stardust on. But this is the Little Cup team I'm going to be starting with. My advice on Little Cup is don't take it too seriously. This format is going to be extremely rock, paper, scissors. It's going to be really hard to come back from bad leads and from bad sort of matchups. The matches will be fast. Have fun with it as you can. Use what you have. Don't worry too much. It's the first format. Just have as much fun as you can, because honestly, I don't think you're going to be able to learn a lot about yourself as a battler based on these battles where charge moves are essentially not landing. So have fun as best you can, but make sure you don't waste too much Stardust on this format, as I don't really think this is something we're going to do a lot of in the future. All right, the second format, which is next week, is the one that I think you're going to have probably the best experience battling in. It's the one that's probably the most cohesive, most sort of metagameable format we have, and that's Kanto Cup. All Pokemon from Gen 1 are legal. That does include Alolan's, because they do share a Pokédex number, although it does not include things like Berserker or Surfetched, which evolve from a sort of regional variant. So you can't use those, but I do think the Alolan's are going to be great here. Pretty much all of them. But let's take a look. Here's the team I'm planning to use. And my rule of thumb in this cup was I don't plan to spend Stardust. I have Pokemon for Kanto Cup. There's a few things you might want to invest in if your roster's a little less developed than mine is, but if you've been playing PvP for a while, there's some real all-stars here, and I'm planning to just utilize those to get it done. A dominant force in this format, and something that I think is going to be really, really useful for everybody, is Hypno. I have 3 Hypnos made. I'm going to be using a Shadow. I don't know exactly what moves yet, although I think you may have to use Shadow Ball just to give you play in the mirror. But Hypno is going to be a great Pokemon for this format and something that I think any team is going to be ready for. And I think a lot of people are going to be set to counter it. So you do have to make sure. I'm going to run it in the lead, so I've got that flex. The second Pokemon I'm planning to bring is good old Flappy Boy Lapras. Lapras is extremely bulky. Lots of really good matchups. Many of the grass types in Gen 1 are also poison typed. So Lapras and Hypno cover each other really nicely. Hypno takes care of the poison grasses. It takes care of various fighting types. You might see an electric type pop into the meta where you're going to run into a little trouble here. A Magneton maybe. A Alolan Raichu is also pretty good against these, but those are Pokemon I'm kind of hedging against, as I think their other matchups aren't as good, and I think these two will go nicely together. Lapras is a wonderful closer with Skull Bash, and I think that's going to be pretty great. Lastly, I'm bringing the ultimate safe switch in this meta, which is Alolan Muck. Alolan Muck has great matchups against Hypno. Very few things absolutely crush it, and the things that do tend to get run over in return by, say, a Hypno or a Lapras for that matter. So really great, versatile last pick. These three Pokemon I think are going to do awesome. They've got decent bulk. They've got a lot of play to them. None of these Pokemon are going to be totally dead in the water. So really looking forward to this format. Haven't spent any dust on it. Don't intend to, and I don't recommend you do, because again, these formats are here for a week. They're meant to be fun. Don't go overboard. Spend dust that you want to spend, because this last format, you're not going to have a choice. All right, the last format we're going to talk about real quick is Catch Cup. Now, that's the last format in this. Basically, the way Catch Cup works is that anything that's been acquired within the window that we're currently in starting today is eligible for Catch Cup. There is no way to get around spending dust on this format if you'd like to compete, but I do have some general advice. The first, and some clarifications. The first is that eggs are acquired the date that you acquired the egg, not that they hatch. So if you're sitting on eggs now, they're not going to do you any good. The second is that trades have a caught date, and that caught date is when they were caught, so you can't circumvent that by trades as well. One of the things I would recommend doing for this format, the first is I'd take a look at your roster and what you maybe want to use in Open Great League that you have not made yet. For example, I've not made a Mandibuzz yet. Do I think I'm going to have a good chance at getting a red egg and a Vullaby in this window? Probably not, but at least I'm going to try. There's a few Pokemon like that I'm looking at my inventory and saying to myself, I haven't made that yet. Maybe now is the time. If I'm going to spend that dust, because I have the dust to sort of make those purchases, maybe I'm going to consider doing that. The one thing I would say, and this is what's important, is pay attention to the events that are going on right now. Pay attention to any announced events that may be coming, and pay attention to what's in your field research. The big one I think everyone should know about is going to result in a meta that I think is going to revolve around this one. Spotlight Hour tomorrow is Jigglypuff. Finding a high-level Jigglypuff, catching it, and evolving it is probably going to be one of the cheapest ways to build a reasonable team. Wigglytuff only needs one move. Realistically, you're not getting to a lot of charge moves with Wigglytuff. And if you just do Charm, Ice Beam, Wigglytuff, evolve it close to the right CP, you may be able to build your entire team around a Pokemon you don't have to spend any resources on. So for that reason, I think you're going to see a lot of these running around. I think you should plan to counter Wigglytuff if you can find a reasonable steel type, maybe a Shadow Skarmory. Believe it or not, yeah, you'd be stuck with frustration, but Shadow Skarmory with one move is still going to be excellent. It's going to be a little pricey, but if that's something that you were thinking of investing in, I know those rocket stops aren't super common, but you may be able to find those. There is a Barboach Spotlight Hour as well, but that comes even after Catch Cup has begun. So I'd keep that in mind. The other Pokemon I think you might want to be looking out for now is a potential Ivysaur. Bulbasaur is currently in the Animation Week spawns. Ivysaur is excellent. You can't really make a Venusaur because you need Frenzy Plant, but you may be able to make an Ivysaur now and then evolve that into a Venusaur for Ultra League later if you wish. So there's some options there. I do think Wigglytuff is one that you should absolutely be looking out for in the immediate future. And we'll dive more into Catch Cup in some future videos, maybe give you a sense for what you could do here that isn't going to break the bank Stardust wise. But my advice, as always, and this is general advice that I think everyone should consider, never spend dust unless you're planning to use that Pokemon right away. This is how you have reserves for something like this in the future, because I don't know that this is the only time we're going to see a format like this, although I don't think it's going to be a regular thing. All right, that about sums up what I'm planning to do for these. I hope you're ready to jump into these formats. Let me know what teams you're looking at. I know some of you are still a little bit unhappy with these formats. They're not really what you're looking for. My general advice, my words of wisdom are, it's just GBL. If you take 3 weeks off, you're probably going to be happier for it. So have fun if you can. If you can't, take a couple weeks off, enjoy the game, build up some Stardust reserves. It's not about getting to rank 10 every season. That's not really what it's there for. Just have some fun. I think these formats are going to be good for some fun games here and there. I think if you try and play every set of Little Cup for a week, you may not want a GBL ever again. So keep that in mind. I hope you are well. I will see you all next time.